Greetings, everybody. Welcome to the Brahma Kumaris Spiritual University, a program that we've recorded a series of interviews. And thank you very much for taking the time to join us this afternoon. And our first recorded interview is with a sister who, known as Dr. Grace Lopez Charles, is our very first interview that we've recorded. And you were about to listen to this interview, and thereafter, she is live with us, and thereafter, you have an opportunity to pose some questions to her, or you would like to maybe find out further regarding the Brahma Kumaris Spiritual University. You are welcome to be live, or you are welcome also to use the chat to pose your questions. And if the sound is a bit low, I urge you just to raise your volume on whatever devices that you are using. Will be nice. So yes, just to welcome Dr. Grace Lopez Charles. Thank you again for making the time to be with us live in the studio. Do you please say hello to the people who have joined us?
Hello, everyone. Good evening. And it's nice to see everyone interested in other people's story. And I can't even remember what I said on the interview. That's very funny. It's been some time now. I think it was in November or earlier than that. But anyway, it's wonderful that you take time on a busy Saturday to be here with us. I hope you enjoy.
Thank you, Dr. Grace. Yes, I'm sure they are going to enjoy it. And I will ask the host then to play the interview, and we're eager to have those questions posed to you. Thank you again. Free the Mind and Rediscover Yourself is a collection of personal, heartfelt stories of courage as individuals from diverse perspectives in Africa have embraced the teachings of Brahma Kumaris to enrich their lives and those around them to live with peace, happiness, love, and wisdom. Greetings, salutations to everybody. We have a special guest with us who would later share, but I just want to introduce the Brahma Kumaris to you in a brief introduction. In a world torn apart by materialism, we yearn for a world and life of peace, happiness, dignity, and prosperity. The Brahma Kumaris, with a presence in over 120 countries, including over 40 countries in Africa, has been offering a universal teaching of spiritual since 1974. The real commitment is to helping individuals transform their perspective of the world from a material to spiritual. It supports the cultivation of deep collective consciousness of peace and the individual dignity of each soul. Being Free is a collection of personal stories of courage as individuals from diverse perspectives in Africa have embraced spirituality and spiritual principles through the teachings of Brahma Kumaris to enrich their lives and live with peace, courage, and wisdom in an ever-increasing world of chaos. For that brief introduction, I'd like to welcome our guest, who is Sister Grace Lopez Charles. That name does rhyme, I must tell you, sister. Welcome, Sister Grace. You've been in meditation for the past 22 years, and of that 22 years, 12 of those years were spent in Ghana, where you were responsible for all the activities. You're currently residing at the moment in the UK. You are a retired teacher, lecturer, researcher. Your professional status, if I just cover some of the aspects from your CV that you've given us. You do hold a PhD in mathematics. You have an MA in curriculum studies. You also have an advanced diploma in psychology and curriculum design. And all of these, you acquired them at the University of London and the Institution of Education in the UK. You also have certified teaching education for teaching of mathematics to children, adults, in the classroom, in groups, in communities, and so on. And you acquired this in the University of the West Indies in Trinidad. You also worked in many, many groups. With that brief description of your professional life, Sister Grace, I sit and talk to you and I wonder, well, how much time and how much effort you put in, and where do you find the energy to work within your other life as well as your spiritual life? Over to you, Sister Grace, just to respond, and we will take it further.
Good afternoon, and thank you for spending this time with me. The question is very interesting because I don't see it as having to fit in time. It's like just something happens seamlessly. For me, I am a to-do list type of person. So I always have all the things that I need to do, whether they're spiritual based or they're education based, teaching, or even household chores, DIY things. So for me, it's a fluidity where everything just works like clockwork. I know sometimes it could be a little bit rigid, but I am flexible in that if it doesn't happen, it's okay. I will just reschedule it for another time, another day. So finding time is not really something that I find difficult because I sort of schedule time. I have this feeling that time is mine to manipulate whatever way I want to. And so time is not getting the better of me. I'm always on time. And I know that I will use time wisely. So that's why I always have my to-do list. I always have my pen and paper with me so I can write down what I need to do when I need to do it.
Yes. Well, Sister Grace, yes, I mean, it does take a lot of organizing to work your way in your programs and so on. But yes, I mean, we're grateful that you've made time to chat to us, particularly about your journey. How did your journey, or how did your incredible journey, if I say, with meditation that began? I wonder if you could even remember your very first steps to meditation.
I can vividly remember it. And I must say, it's a journey that hadn't been planned. I just said that I have to-do lists, but this was not on my to-do list. Not in a million years was it going to be on my to-do list. So it hadn't been planned. It wasn't ventured in willingly. And I actually had an accelerated life in that I got married quite young and I got divorced quite young as well. So I had my children quite young. So by the time I'm 30, I had 3 children and I was divorced. Well, not fully divorced, separated. I got my divorce when I was 33 and then I moved to the UK. But I always had this sense that I need to get on with my life. I need to make things happen in my life So prayer and those things was not really part of my life. And then I lived my life mostly for my children. So I was bringing up a family full time, working full time, and studying part time. So there was no space in my life for anything else. But children, as they do, they grow up. And while they're growing up, I realizing gradually that pretty soon I'll be on my own. And so there was this kind of empty feeling inside. I have accomplished a lot, but yet still there was an emptiness inside. And it came to head one Saturday morning when I really felt, you know what? The boys had already left for uni. And so my daughter was about to do her O levels. And then we'll move on to sixth form college and then go. And, you know, in the UK, when they leave the house, they really ever come back. They find after college, they find their own flats and they live their own life. And so that particular Saturday, I decided to have a walk. And I lived in Cambridge, so it was beautiful for walking. There are about 5 different routes from my house to the town center. And I decided to take the longest route along the River Cam.
Mm-hmm.
And I did, because at the end of that, there was this orchard with apple trees, and it's a tea room, and it was called the orchard. So all the tables were under the apple trees. So I told myself I'll get there, sit and have a cup of tea and maybe a scone, and just ponder what am I going to do with my life. And I was almost there when this herd of cattle is crossing the path, and I was so scared of them. They're big and they're not fearsome looking, but there were so many of them. And I stopped, and as I stopped, I looked down, and there was this artist, and he was painting the scenery of a hill in the distance. And it was Jeffrey Archer's house, really, and the daffodils were in bloom, and he was painting. So I walked down, and I started talking to him. This is out of character for me. And we talked for about 20 minutes about art. In total, we spoke for 2 hours.
Wow.
The rest of the time was, guess what? On spirituality. And he said to me, you on a spiritual journey. And when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And I was saying to myself, are you crazy? I'm on not a spiritual journey. I don't know anything about spirituality. And 2 months after, my sister came to visit me. She was doing transcendental meditation. So she took me into doing meditation. And at that time, the Inner Space Cambridge had just opened, maybe a year before. Yeah, I was the second lot to be students of that Inner Space Cambridge. And so I said, there's a place in Cambridge that is, I think they do spiritual books and so on. I didn't know what they really did. I've been in there. I bought a book on dreams, but I never asked what they did or anything. And so she said, oh, well, let's do the course. And I said, hang on, we need to know what this is all about. So I called and made an appointment to meet one Saturday morning. And we went, and that was it. We started the course together, and she was really excited. So after each lesson, we would sit at the river and talk about it. And it just grew on me. And there was no turning back from that point. But it wasn't that I was seeking anything. Maybe deep down inside, because I had this, that I didn't feel fulfilled, even though people say, but you're so successful. But I didn't feel it. I didn't feel inside it that there was something missing. And that was my whole life. It actually filled that gap where I stopped thinking that I will be in an empty nest. But it was something to pull me back into a state of feeling secure in myself.
Wow. Well, Sister Grace, I mean, you virtually did remember it vividly from your first steps. Well, I mean, that's incredible. I mean, you then in it for 22 years, so it has touched you in some form, and you have had obviously have been rewarded in many ways. Well, Sister Grace, the next question I'd like to just throw at you is, you've lived in Trinidad, the UK, and Ghana, very diverse countries and cultures. How has the teaching of the Brahma Kumaris supported you through as you've worked and lived through these diverse cultures? Knowing you're an African like I am, we see things, particularly from an African point of view, but we also be able to embrace. But I would really love you to talk me through how you have navigated through all these cultures and diverse people.
Because I myself am very diverse. My parents are, my father is Venezuelan, my mother is part Spanish and part African. I didn't know much about the African culture. Growing up, I didn't have anything. I grew up more in a Latino culture.
Okay.
So hence the name Lopez, that's my family name.
Okay.
And so we were basically Latinos. And we didn't see ourselves much else because my grandfather lived with us. He was a Warao Indian from the Orinoco Basin in Venezuela. So I had this mixture of culture. So there was no identity with any one culture. So you could say I had three roots: the indigenous root of South America. Then I had this European route through Spain, and the African route, where we were not sure which part of Africa, although they had sort of French sounding names. So it might be Togo or Cote d'Ivoire, one of those countries. I'm not sure where. It was difficult to actually, because my maternal grandmother's relatives were not from Trinidad. They came to Trinidad, so I don't know much about that bit. But living in Trinidad was my really idyllic time. I didn't know the Brahma Kumaris then. I lived a stone's throw from the Brahma Kumaris Center in San Fernando.
Okay.
I knew that there was this angel, and we used to say the angel on the hill, but never know what it was about, and never thought that I wanted to know anything about it anyway. It was just there. I mean, if I walk from my house to where that was, it will just take me about 6 minutes. That close. It's
Right.
on the hill, but they're on the other part of the hill. And so the Brahma Kumaris teaching didn't really impact me for Trinidad, but what impacted me was the values that my mother particularly brought us up. We had this very, very strict, it's Roman Catholicism. And so I came from that background. Coming to the UK, it wasn't that I didn't practice my religion, the Roman Catholicism. It's because I was divorced, and at that time they don't recognize divorcee and they make you feel quite inferior. So I actually didn't bother to go to church or anything like that. My children didn't even like it either. So we sort of leave that. But what I found when I started meditation, I began to realize the beauty of every human being.
Yes.
It was the time when I actually became mature. So maturity took place in the UK. Spiritually mature, but also mature in my thinking, in my acceptance of others. Because I would put my head down and just be. I'm quite a loner. I'm still a bit like that, really. But Trinidad, I would say, was my days of innocence, my naivety. But maturity came in the UK when I came with the spiritual knowledge. I find that I definitely became more mature. I was strong, but it was a physical strength that I was putting up, doing all these different things on your own. Bringing up 3 children on your own is not an easy task, especially when I'm commuting from Cambridge to London daily.
Yes.
And doing studies, my master's and my PhD. So it really was quite a strength that I cultivated in order to cope. But the Raja Yoga course gave me another strength, a strength that is much more long lasting. Because I used to get burnout every time there's a reader's week when I was lecturing, I will get ill. The first few days I will have to spend in bed because my body's all worn out. But with the spirituality, I feel like I'm a hamster on a treadmill and I can go and go and go. And so with that kind of attitude going into Ghana, it didn't really work nicely for me because I move at a pace. And in Ghana, it's quite laid back and things happen slowly. So there I had another set of learning, and that is simplicity, humility, and relax. Just relax.
Yes.
It took me some time to get it because I used to get so upset because of the lack of adherence to time.
Mm-hmm.
That, people will say, I'm coming at 2 o'clock, and then 8 o'clock in the evening, they now appear. And in fact, there's a standing joke. There's a student who I was having, and he was on for his, I think it was either his last or penultimate lesson. And he called me and said, Sister Grace, I'm on my way. And do you know, to this day, I've never seen that student again. And he called me and said, I'm on my way, I'm coming.
Yes.
And I've never seen or heard from him. So those sort of things, I had to really, it challenged me, but I had to use my spiritual knowledge to calm down, relax, and to accept that, okay, not everybody would like to use time in the way you use your time. So
Yes.
humility and simplicity, yes, that's what I actually use and hone in a way that it really became my signature. Because even when I come back here now on holidays, I live very simple. No fuss about anything.
Okay, now that's wonderful to see how you've managed to live through all those various cultures and people, particularly when you say that your greater part of your maturity and spirituality has come about you being in the UK, and you've learned with all that. Still today, you are dealing with the very same similar situations around your interventions of meeting people and teaching and so on, and particularly through Raja Yoga, that gives you that power that you talk about when you are feeling on the lows, and it just brings you up again when you are performing and getting your Raja Yoga power. It's amazing, Sister Grace. Just another question, if I may, just relating to your PhD. Mathematics implies working in a very logical way. It's associated with the left brain processes of oneself. Meditation and spirituality involves intuition, feeling, creativity, which tends to be more the right brain aspects of oneself. How have you integrated these aspects in yourself, particularly what you've just said to me about Raja Yoga, the meditation, and how you deal with it in many various ways?
For one thing, this is a misconception. This right brain, left brain thing, it's really, math is not just left brain, no. It uses the entire brain because there are 3 aspects to math. Math is logical, math is critical, but math is also creative. Everything that you see around you, it works through math. But people don't make that link because they just see the number aspect of it, which is very abstract. My PhD is on rational numbers, so I study number theory. And it's amazing because it's exactly like Raj Yoga meditation. It's exactly a body of knowledge that doesn't need anything to enhance it. Raj Yoga stands alone. You wouldn't find it in any scripture or in any other philosophy. It's something that stands alone. There might be pieces somewhere, but it's not going to create any impact to say, oh, well, because this is there, it puts an essence that make Raj Yoga even more enjoyable or even more viable. It's the same with math. The numbers exist. When we apply it, it's that when we see it. But all the numbers, they're all around us, in nature, in everything. And so in rational numbers, we look at everything, whole numbers and fractions. That makes up rational numbers, because every whole number can be in a ratio of that number to 1. And so when I heard the first lesson about the soul, and the soul is eternal, and the soul is immortal, and the soul stands alone, and it can never be destroyed. And I thought, so this is like 1. 1 is the identity number for multiplication, division. So anything multiplied by 1 remains itself. 1 gives its identity. And so it's like the soul impacts the body. So the body's identity comes from the soul. The soul is using everything that the body has, but it's still whole. And then the second lesson was amazing. And that's my favorite lesson, really. When I think about it, I just go really goosepimply. But it is that 0. Now, 1 can be negative and it can be positive as well. And so I understood that whole thing when we did the final lesson on the cycle, that for half the time I'm positive. This soul, I am positive. And for the half the time I'm negative. I'm weak, I am I'm full of vices, and anything negative, that's where I fall, on the negative side of the spectrum. Positive side, I'm perfect, I'm strong. But 0, nothing impacts 0. 0 could never be positive nor negative, yet still it's powerful. 1, and I put 0 to the right of 1, what happens? It's the image of 10. 1 now has more value. And I could keep adding these zeros, and 1 is becoming more and more valuable. And so it means the more connected I become to that 0, that energy that is perfect, that doesn't have any trace of negativity nor positivity, the closer I come to that 1, the more powerful I am. It doesn't mean that there's several zeros, there's several gods, but it's just that symbol 0, that 0 that is perfect in every form, can make me more and more valuable. And that was really, wow, I understood this. But it is my math understanding that helped me. And try explaining that to my sister, who wasn't math, but loved the knowledge, and she couldn't see it. And how can you not see that? Because you're too logical. And that was not logic, that is actually creativity.
Well, Sister Grace, I think you've now almost given me a maths lesson here. But understanding what you're saying, that I mean, there is no left brain, right brain processes. You just need to function. Yeah. And positive thing that you're just highlighting, that the number 0 means a lot. It does not bring any negativity to it, or it brings positive as well, which is how one embraces it and work through the knowledge as you've explained. We're running short of time, but I just want to throw one or two more questions to you, Sister Grace. What inspired your work with values in education and its impact that it had, knowing that you've indicated that you work with children, adults, and at various gatherings? Could you share something about that for us?
With the work with the values in education, I was asked to join because I was lecturing, and I was asked by the one in charge in Cambridge. She said to me, "This would be nice for you to be part of this." And I went to one meeting, and then the next time I was invited to become part of the steering committee. So I was part of the steering committee for several years. And I was intrigued by values. I have not really worked in anything other than math. And so the values actually was very much an open avenue where I can explore. And at the time, I was lecturing to teachers doing a master's degree in education. So I was able to pilot some of the stuff with them that they can use in the classroom while teaching, because there isn't a subject called values in education in school. So is making it part of your subject matter, part of your code of conduct for the classroom. So that actually became quite inspirational, and to get the feedback with what they use in the class, maybe a gentle tone of voice, mapping the values by modeling them themselves, and to see how much the students pick up. And I had one opportunity to do that with a year 10 class when for part of the time too, I did school inspection. So I was inspecting the school, and I had to look at a year 10 teacher class, but the teacher wasn't in the class at the time. So I came into the class and there was chaos. And I just wrote on the board, respect. And they just keep nudging each other, and they looked. And they just shout. I didn't have to shout or say anything. And I was thinking, this is a way that teachers can actually control the class without being that authoritarian figure.
Yes. Sister Grace, I spoke about the ever-increasing world of chaos. And I think the programs that you are and many others that are involved in values, I think that's so important for us to all understand these common values of the betterment of going forward in every aspect, you know. Sister Grace, this is a question that I think you would want to pour it out of your heart. What is your vision and hope for Africa, the way you see it through your eyes, given that the 22 years of meditation and the latter, your maturity in the UK through the Raja Yoga meditation? What can you tell me, Sister Grace?
I think my vision is one way of unity. It's one where the entire African nations come together, and I'm talking about in terms of the Brahma Kumaris now, not just Africa in general. I think if the Brahma Kumaris can be an example, again, you know, we were talking, as mentioning about values, and if we model the value, then others will just follow. And I think we have that unique position where we can model that kind of values. And what I'd love to see is that all the countries coming together to share that vision. South America has this beautiful thing. Since the pandemic, they have come together, 17 countries, South and Central America. And they all come together, and different groups of countries work towards who will look at service for men. And, you know, like how in India, there are the wings. And so the different wings, the transport wings, and this wing and that wing and the other wing. And so they have done that quite a lot with the whole continent working together. And I think this is something that I love to see in Africa, that there'll be more and more of a voice of other countries. At the moment, I'm working with the Lighthouse Project as one of the editors. And there is not much African input in that. We're finding it difficult to get meditation from many of the different African countries or talks. And I think this is because it's only a few, there's not much cohesiveness. And that's what I'd like to see. I tried early in lockdown to bring that. And so we had a quite successful day retreat for all the BKs in Africa. And I believe we had about 26 countries represented. So it was quite successful, but it was just a one-off, and it's dead. And I think what we need is to revive that feeling of unity. All we need is to come together as one cohesive group, working in the same way, not in competition with each other, but working in cooperation with each other. And that's my vision for Africa.
Thank you, Sister Grace. I think with those inspiring words and visions and suggestions, I'm sure this is why we're running these programs, and we're grateful that you have obliged to participate and give us your views. Thank you again. And I think just in closing, we'd just like to thank everybody that was involved in trying to get this going. We would ask you to give us a close off with a commentary in meditation.
Sitting comfortably. Let's just make that effort to go within the self. And stay centered in the knowledge of who I am. I wish to know more about myself, my true self. The only way I can know my true self, I need to be in stillness, in silence. So let's take a nice deep breath. And as we breathe in, just feel the body relaxing and the self becoming calm in the mind. Take another deep breath, and as you exhale, just feel that you're leaving behind all your concerns, all your cares, your fears, your worries. And in this moment, I ask myself, who am I? How well do I know myself? It's very important to listen to the inner voice, the voice of wisdom. So when we ask ourselves these questions, let us not try to design the answers, but let us just listen in silence, in stillness, for the answer to come from the heart. Who am I? What is the real me? What am I like? What are my qualities? The answer to all these I hold within myself. So in this next few moments, I sit in my inner sanctuary, and in this stillness, I listen. I listen to my voice of wisdom. That sweet, gentle voice that always guides me, but I don't always listen to it. And as the answer keeps coming to you, don't just assign them to the mind as words, but create the feelings that will bring the real realization of the self. That peaceful, calm inner being that is full, that doesn't need anything external to identify itself. Feel the love for the self as it grows inside. A love that doesn't desire anything. A love doesn't need any return. It just flows naturally from me, through me. How wonderful to know this side of me and to make time each day to connect with this side of me, to spend more and more time with my true self so that I can make a further impact on the lives of those around me, and even on the elements and the atmosphere in which I live, work, and play. This is my truth. This is who I am. But I have only just begun to touch the tip of my true being. The more times that I spend getting to know myself deeply, the greater and more elevated I will feel. And I will be able to work with every individual that come before me with love, harmony, and complete cooperation, respect, humility, and tolerance. All these are the things that lie within me, and as I make myself comfortable within, more of these inner qualities will emerge to the surface, and I'll be able to live my life from inside out. Taking a nice deep breath, I come back to wherever I'm sitting, the room where I am. But I come back with this further knowledge of myself, anxious to live through the understanding I have of myself at this moment now. For that, I probably need to change the way I think, the way I feel, and the actions that I perform. but gradually I'm transforming into something beautiful, someone beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Grace. Shanti, thank you very much.
Shanti.
We appreciate your time once again. Thank you, brothers and sisters, friends, all the participants have patiently listened through the interview, and I hope that you could find some encouragement from the experiences the sister has gone through, and also, you may have some questions that you would like to ask, and I would urge you to pose your questions. You can just unmute yourself and pose the question directly to the sister, or just in general. A comment will also be good for us. Yes, if anybody's got a question. Thank you, Sister Grace. I see you remembered everything. This is way back in May last year. Does anybody would like to pose a question? Please feel free, unmute.
Hello. Hello.
Hello. Hello.
I would like, can you hear me, brother?
Yes, we can, loud and clear, sister.
I would like to tell Sister Grace I enjoyed the mathematics explanation of the 1 and the zeros. Now it makes sense to me when Baba talks about it. I never thought of maths in that way. I think I'm going to re-look at my mathematics studies. Yeah, it's actually spiritual. And imagine children who are struggling at school because of mathematics, and yet everything, mathematics is everything, even the games we play, even the netball we play. When we throw that ball into the net, we stand at a certain angle. That's sheer geometry. Thank you, sister. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, sister. Thank you.
Anybody else would like to raise a question? Please.
Shanti, just one more request. I wonder if Sister Grace could give us a class on mathematics and spirituality, a whole class would be so lovely. Yeah, if I may say this, Gyan and mathematics, that would be so unboring.
We'll definitely take that suggestion down and motivate her to do something like that, Sister Carol. It's Sister Grace. I think you started off some ideas here. Feel free, people. It's just, your question, whether it's a long or short or comment, will help us to move forward. So please, as a request, I'd just like us to have some interaction here.
When is the sister coming to South Africa?
Good question. I've been to South Africa in 2017, but not all of I went to Durban and Johannesburg briefly. At the moment, I'm in London, so I still have to get back to Ghana in March. And with the pandemic and the problems around travel, I can't answer that question. Depends on the drama of travel and governments and vaccines and whatever else there is that is really impeding the way we travel these days. So I can't really say.
Oh, we are waiting.
That urgent voices, we're waiting. You've got to put your plan together. The higher powers will get you in.
But I have to be invited to. I can't just come.
We will invite you. Definitely, you will receive your invitation.
You are already invited because you're doing this program, so you are already invited.
Oh, that's very semantic.
Yeah.
Om Shanti, sister.
Om Shanti.
Thank you for the inspiring words. And also what touched me is the last bit where you say, what is the vision for Africa? I think really we need all to come together and be united so that we can make the change there, and so that Baba's words and Baba's wishes can reach out to all the souls. So I think this African Voices is one of the stepping stones as well. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You know, I had a meeting with Sister Janti on Wednesday, just a chit-chat meeting, and then we had lunch together. And that's one of the things that she was saying. I too noticed that the gift of the pandemic is a globalization for the family, the Brahma Kumaris family, that I think that there is a coming closer, a sort of bond, and particularly after the 3-day retreat, the 3-day Tapasya retreat that we just had on the 16th, 17th, 18th of January. That was very powerful. I feel that togetherness of the family, not just a zonal family, but a global family. And that is coming. So let's hold the space, because I think there is real good hope for Africa with brothers like the brother who is really bringing newness to African service. I really like that.
Thank you, sister. Any more questions? Some of the old souls that are part and parcel from the participants, Sister Dipti, Brother Dorito. Any comments?
Om Shanti.
Shanti.
So I was also intrigued by the mathematics and the spirituality. So I am supporting Sister Carol's idea that Sister Grace can at one point give us something a bit more on those two aspects, how they connect. When you say mathematics is everywhere, so in what aspects, I'm thinking about it in a certain way, but there could be much more depth when, maybe taken by Sister Grace, who has done so much of mathematics. So I'm thinking that would be a very good idea at some point. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. I have actually done a lot on arts and spirituality, working with one brother in London, and at the moment working with a sister who's looking at some points of the Moli and seeing the maths that can actually support it. And it's really intriguing. So I wouldn't mind doing something on maths. I read the Moli in Russia some time ago, and Sudha Didi asked if I would work with one of the brothers there to work with scientists in Russia. So it's something that people are always intrigued about. Maybe I take it just for granted, but people are really intrigued about math because it is as abstract and as spiritual as the knowledge that we're doing. It's experiencing more than knowing.
Okay.
Hello, Sister Grace.
Hello,
Sister
Dipti.
Yeah, how are you?
I am
Good.
fine. I'm very well. Sorry, I missed the program yesterday. I hope it was recorded.
It was lovely. Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. I just really appreciated how you started off this afternoon. And I think it was, for me, a gift in just your energy of just how you shared. When Brother Kadrivelin asked you, how do you manage your time? And just your very sincere response that I just schedule it and I do it. And if I can't, then I reschedule. And it may be something very simple you shared, but I think this is really the gift that many of us had to hear today, because I think that we want to achieve very important things in our life, but equally enough, sometimes there's this belief system that we don't have the time to do it. And I just, as I listened to you this afternoon, and you opened a space for myself as you, with that opening comment, I think it's such a valuable gift that there are so many different opportunities that each one can grow in. And I see today there may be many new people that have joined this afternoon to always think that I can make time. And you shared it so beautifully, how it is possible for new beginnings. So thank you. That was an important opening, I think, for all of our journeys. Thank you, Sister Grace.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thanks.
Thanks, Sister Dipti. If we do have maybe a last question, and maybe we can close the session. Is there anybody with a last question or a comment? Sister Grace, there were a few comments in the chat. A few people have indicated that they really enjoyed your meditation. I think we all did, and we're grateful. Thanks to those comments. There's some other ones that, okay, it's all talking about that. Sister Grace, beautiful session. Somebody is saying good evening to you. I think it's possibly in terms of the time zones. Sharing your journey in spirituality, thanks for the serene meditation. We've come to that. Well, in general, some of the comments are saying thank you very much, that the meditation has uplifted them in some way. Thank you for that. If there are no other last questions, then Sister Grace, thanks. Making yourself available, and thanks for those encouraging words that we are trying to make a difference in whatever way. And we certainly will, from the African Voices, will definitely invite you to come and give us a pep talk of how we move forward with the minuses and pluses and so on. Thank you. All the best. We'll talk again. Thank you to the team as
Thank you.
Going.
Thank you. Have a lovely afternoon, evening time. What time is it for you? I don't know. It's still afternoon for me.
Similar here, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
All the best. Bye-bye, everybody. Thanks for joining.
Thanks. Thanks, Daniela.